Σας καλωσορίζω στην δεύτερη ημέρα του συνεδρίου του Θεσσαλονίκη Design Week. Για όσους δεν ήταν εδώ χτες μαζί μας, να πούμε ότι είχαμε μια ενδιαφέρουσα μέρα με δύο παρουσιάσεις, μία από τον χώρο της αρχιτεκτονικής και μία από τον χώρο του product design. Να σας πω μία-δύο πληροφορίες σχετικά με το πρόγραμμα σήμερα. Θα ξεκινήσουμε με το graphic design, θα ακολουθήσει η παρουσίαση που δεν ήταν ακριβώς στο πρόγραμμα για product design. Είχαμε τον Ρεφίκα Ναντόλ να κάνει μια παρουσίαση. Δυστυχώς, τελευταία στιγμή ειδοποίησε ότι τελικά δεν θα μπορούσε, δεν θα τα καταφέρει. Οπότε στη θέση τους έχουμε τον Ντανίλο Πέτα και την Σνουρ Πινάρ και θα τελειώσει η μέρα με Design Thinking και τον Steven Νάι. Στο τέλος κάθε παρουσίασης μπορείτε και σας ενθαρρύνω να κάνετε ό,τι ερωτήσεις έχετε σχετικές και για αυτούς που μας παρακολουθούν από το YouTube Live, το κανάλι του Θεσσαλονίκη Design Week, να πω ότι και αυτοί μπορούν να στείλουν τις ερωτήσεις τους γραπτός και τις μεταφέρω εγώ στον κάθε ομιλητή. Τώρα θα γυρίσω την... να σας συστηθώ κιόλας για όσους δεν ήταν εδώ χτες. Εγώ ονομάζομαι Φακίνος Δημήτρης, είμαι μεταξύ άλλων ο ιδρυτής των ελληνικών βραβείων γραφιστικής κινηματογράφησης, τον ΕΒΓΕ, που πλέον ονομάζονται Ελληνικά Βραβεία Σχεδιασμού Οπτικής Επικοινωνίας. Το ΕΒΓΕ το κρατήσαμε παρόλα τα αυτά, ως ακρονίμιο, και διευθυντής του European Design Festival. Ξεκινάμε λοιπόν σήμερα με το graphic design και μία από τις πιο αγαπημένες μου ομάδες design στον κόσμο, τους Tonic από την Ολλανδία. Ναι, επιτρέψτε μου να γυρίσω στα αγγλικά λοιπόν και για τους καλεσμένους μας και για το κοινό που παρακολουθεί μέσω του YouTube Live. So Tonic, a personal favorite studio, is Amsterdam-based, and it is a collective of designers. It's specialized in visual communication with an emphasis on graphic design, interaction design, and motion design. The studio combines an integrated strategic approach with high-quality design and an adventurous exploration of a broad array of media. Tonic has solo exhibitions at the Shanghai Art Museum, the Venice Architecture Biennale, Spiral Arts Center Tokyo, Galerie Anatome, and Institut Néerlandais in Paris, the Morti Breda, and Power Station of Art in Shanghai. Their work is also part of several permanent collections like Centre Pompidou in Paris and Stede Lake Museum in Amsterdam. Today, representing Tonic, we have Roy Terhorst, a multidisciplinary design specialized in graphic design and motion design. He creates logical, clear, yet experimental and radical visual languages. Since 2012, he works at the Amsterdam-based Tonic studio, and he has joined the studio as a partner since this year. Congratulations, Roy. He gives lectures, exhibitions, and workshops. Within the studio, he's active as a designer and director and in charge of everything motion. Please welcome Roy on stage.
Yes, it's red. Hey, that sounds good. Yes, my name is Roy Terhorst. I'm a graphic designer from Amsterdam. First of all, I really want to thank the organization of the Thessaloniki Design Week for having me. It's my first lecture I do after the pandemic situation. Well, during the pandemic situation, but the first live one. So it's a special day, and it's even more special because I was able to bring my two little kids. They are sitting over there in the corner. Lena and Robin, they are 3 years old and 5 years old. So today my mission is to let them fall in love with graphic design. So please bear with me. I'm from Amsterdam. Studio Tonic is where I work, designer and partner. And today I want to tell you something about my experimental motion work. I tell you why I do it and how it relates to Tonic projects. These experiments you see, they are often made in the train back home or in evening hours. So at Tonic we always start with a concept, and from that concept all the shapes and ideas are formed. But on the other hand, I also have strong the urge to I really have the urge to play and to start form-driven. It's also a great and fun way to teach yourself new ways of design and to keep up and to stay relevant. My experimental work often is the gap between print work and motion work. And in my experimental work, I often have different starting points. So, for example, those wavy blocks. Here I did not animate anything, but I only look at an, oh, does it work? Oh, one back. So in these wavy blocks, the right one is the output, and the left one is the thing I make. And here I'm really looking for computational design, meaning that I really try to deploy the computer as an image maker. So the computer is doing the hard work, and I can easily change different outputs. So I only animated the left one, and the right one is what's coming out. And this way, you really can focus on the outputs and easily change it for different patterns, like the left one, more horizontal blocks, or the right one, play with circles. But you also can change it easily for the T, for Thessaloniki, like that. So I really deploy the computer as an image maker. A second interest in motion design goes out by making it meaningful. So how can I make something meaningful? Oh, it doesn't go. One back. Here it is. So it's a rose is a rose is a rose. It's a text by Gertrude Steen, meaning that at the end of the day, a thing is what it is. A rose is a rose is a rose. So here, simply text is copying itself, ending up in a rose-shaped form. This A for Argos, it's a Greek mythology, I think, meaning an eye or 100 eyes. And here I saw in the letter A, turning it on its side, I saw a graphic symbol of an eye in it. But adding motion to it, you easily can change it around and look at it from different perspectives, finding another graphic eye in it. But most important for those, why I do those experiments is just to have a good time and let the happy little accidents take over. This is something which you cannot think on forehand. You cannot draw like this is what I'm going to do. You just play, you open your laptop, you start playing, and something comes out. Like these crazy shapes, they revealed itself to me. So how do I use this experimental work in Tonic projects? Well, one of the clients I love to work for is Platform Act. They are here in the Netherlands to improve the labor markets for the cultural sector. And when they came to us, they really wanted to have a vivid identity, a living brand. And we translated this into a visible grid. And the grid is very dynamic. And within the grid, the circles can grow. And when they grow, they connecting and they make type. And with those type, you can make a whole identity. So here we really started with motion again. And from this motion, we pull all the stills from the static images. So the static images are simply stills from the moving images. Then I go to Holland Festival. It's a really important client for us. They are an international performing arts festival in the Netherlands. They are already here since 1947. And when they came to us to pitch for their new identity, we were super happy to... The clicker is stopped. There it goes. We were super enthusiastic to pitch for their new identity, because in the history of Dutch graphic design, a lot of our heroes worked on it. So on the left you see Dick Elvis in 1971. Then the second one is Wim Krauwel in the late 70s. Then Anton Beke in 1995. And on the right, Maureen Moore and Daniel van der Velde in 2006. So when we started to work on the identity, the pitch, we thought we wanted to do something with the graphic heritage. So we started looking at the logo Anton Beke made in 1995. And as you can see, he took away some vowels. He made the logo a little bit shorter. And then 10 years later, Maureen Moore came and she made the logo even more shorter, only an H and an F. So we asked ourselves the question, how can we make this even shorter? Well, the next step was to turn this into a legitor. A legitor is a combination where two letters share one vertical stroke. But now it got a bit swastika-like, so we wanted to have it a bit more positive of tone. So we took away even a bit more, resulting in this stencil legitor typeface, which is a very interesting combination because a stencil is cutting it open and a legitor is combining it. But to address this to a full audience, we needed to write the full name because it's kind of abstract. So those rules were applied to the full logo, giving this set. So the H and the O are legitors, the N and the D, the L and the A, the F, the E, the S, the T, everything is combined. You can see in the following movie a bit how we did it. Oh, there is no sound. Oh. And from there we worked out together with Typeface Foundry Bald Monday from Den Haag, The Hague in the Netherlands, a whole alphabet. And here you can see that every letter has several ways of how it's cut. So all the different designers at the studio who work with it, but also the in-house designers at the festival, can pick their favorite letter combinations. And from there we set up a whole legitor set with more than 150 different legitors. And those items we could really use in all the graphic identity for the festival. Because we don't see a logo which is it's standing in the corner, but from the logo you pull all the rules you can apply to make a whole living identity. Like this uitnodiging, it's an invitation in Dutch. And here you can even feel the identity without adding a logo to it. But we also can easily translate it to program books and add photographic images to it. And then every year it's in Amsterdam in the summer, and the whole Amsterdam is, we call it city dressing. Whole Amsterdam will be turned into the Holland Festival style. So we make very colorful and happy flags because we really want to make cultural, like festive. And this was the first facade we made then. So it's the biggest venue in Amsterdam. And here, of course, we looked at the grid of the building to place the type on it. But we also saw a chance to make it very big and bold because it was the first time the new identity was launched. So we saw extra reason to make it very clear, big and bold on the building. And this way we also approached the posters in the city. They were silk screened in 3 colors, addressing the new logo to the Amsterdam people. And then 1 year later, the festival asked us if we could add a bit more, if we could look at their international character, if we could add that to the identity. Because that year, all the people from all those countries were attending the festival. And then we thought, well, if we just introduce the Holland Festival as HF to the Amsterdam people, we could use this typically country codes and say that United Kingdom is UK, make a legitor out of it, color it in by the national colors from the flags. So this was the key image for that year. So here you really see concentrated the HF logo in the middle, and the whole world around it with all the same rules applied. And the facade of that chair looked like this. And a poster in the night. And then in 2017, as an outcome of earlier showed experiments, this was also the year that Trump was screaming about building walls and stuff like that. And the festival always reacts on what's going on in the world. And here we really wanted to show, to play with that idea. And when we start playing with that idea, we came to this moving poster. Oh. Go. Well, this goes on and on, it's a loop. But as you can see from there, again, we started with motion, and from the motion, since we have a timeline, we can easily press the pause button, and when we like the composition, we use it for all the static images. So if you were on your bike through Amsterdam, on the digital screens, you saw this motion poster, and on the printed posters, you saw stills from that, so it feels really connected. But then we had to, again, we had to work on the big facade. And we thought, well, if we started with a motion poster, we also should animate the building. So we digitalized the facade, we put the type where we want it, we stacked the blocks around in space, and then we hit the gravity button. And whenever we liked the composition, we did not change anything about it, and we send it to the printer. And it's sticked on the building like that. And in a way, we also needed this gravity space, because if you have to do it by hand, it will take you a lot of time, stacking all the blocks, and it will probably also not look as good as when the computer is generating it for you. This way, we also filled in the flags, so everything is stills from the motion, and more big banners. And we did even a festival tram like this. So first we animated it. We had to be a little bit patient to let the last block fall in place, and whenever we like the composition, it's sent to the printer and pasted on the tram. And then 1 year later, the festival asked us if we could use a bit more of their photographic images, because everything was so graphic, which is very strong in the streets, but could we use a bit more of the photos? We do like those photographic images, but we also see that images like this are stronger in a program book or in a website, and they are not that attractive to use on a poster in the street, because everything around the poster is already photographic. So we started to play with a gradation code. And as you can see, at point 0, it's the original footage we got. At point 1, it looks a bit like a crappy Photoshop filter. But the more we cracked the coding up, the more interesting graphic abstractions we get. And now we easily could turn an image like this into a beautiful graphic abstraction like this. And we can play with all the in-between shapes. And it also works on a moving image. So behind it is footage we got from the festival. And to make this work, we made a simple Google Chrome plugin. So all the designers only had to import the photo and press the button. And then interesting images appeared to us. And if you zoom in, then you see that the lines are really interesting, and this was something we got by using the browser. So the coding is used in the browser, and we found out that if we did it in the browser, the color spectrum was reacting differently than when we used the traditional programs like Illustrator and Photoshop, InDesign and whatnot, because the browser tries to keep the line sharp. So if you do Ctrl+, you stay zooming, everything stays sharp. But then we had a problem, because we needed to get these browser images, which are pretty low, to an A0 printed matter. An A0 big poster is 300 dpi, and if I add my browser to this, it's only this size on the biggest screen we have. So we started brainstorming about it. We asked more coding guys, could we find something, could we find a way to export from the browser to a high resolution? We did not find anything, and in the end, we stitched all the screen captures from my browser together into one poster. So all the posters in the streets are literally screen captures from my browser. And this way we even stitch together. Our whole festival tram. So here the tram is built up of all small screen captures pasted together. And as I already mentioned, the coding works really good on moving graphics or moving footage too. And this is the trailer we made that year, and you see a bit how it works. So that's it for Holland Festival. And, I want to add one more addition. So as you can see, we make a graphic identity, and then every year we play with it. And this year, the festival got a new director. And if you have a new director, it always wants to add something to it, of course. But this director also saw that the identity was already very strong. And we answered this question by making the font family wider. So we only used the stencil bold for the last 5 years, and then we widen it up with a semi-bold, medium, regular, and a light version. Because they also asked us if we could be a bit more subtle at certain points. And when we started playing with the theme of that year, it was the multitude of different cultures in today's society in Amsterdam. We also found that it is interesting to use those different weights of the font as a metaphor to that. And here you see the light to the bold logo, and we started to play with that. And when we did, we started to coloring it in a bit to stress out some multitude. And then when we overlapped it, a pretty interesting graphic image was appearing itself to us. And we found out that if we add a little circle to it, a graphic abstraction of a face might be visible. And from there we started to play with this motion poster. There it goes. So again, the digital screens look like this. And the printed posters were like this. And here we experimented because we started in an RGB world, motion first. We had really the poppy colors, and we wanted to translate this in print too. But the first results were really letting us down, really flat colors. And in the end, we played with 6 different fluor colors, Pantones, to make the posters just as poppy as the RGB screens in the city. And this is how the facade that year looked. So to sum it up, we make a graphic identity. We always love to work to have a long time relationships with clients, because an identity is not ended when we got an improvement on the design and we make a brand book. We rather make the brand book after a couple of years, and then you put everything you made in there, and there are your rules, instead of locking everything down in the beginning. Of course, there have to be some rules, but they are also there to play with and to break it open. This way it really stays alive. For the VPRO, it's a Dutch broadcaster. We also already worked 12 years with them. And the VPRO is a Dutch broadcaster, and their content is everything in between very absurd humor and deeply critical journalism. And they are very, very beloved in the Netherlands. And when we started work on their identity, we also had to look at the heritage, because it's a famous brand in the Netherlands. And here you can see at the top, it's the logo they had in the 40s from Jan Bons, the VPRO in the lowercase and an outline. Then the second one on the top, still an outline, and then this American swoosh came in. Then in the 80s and the 90s, you see the third logo. It's a logo I grew up with. When I was a kid, I was watching VPRO, and this logo was always in the left corner. So I really also had a feeling with this brand. And then the last logo is the one Tonic made out of it. And I want to tell you a bit how we did it. So this is the logo they used from the 1980s until 2010. It was a spoofy, well-loved logo, I think. Well, it was on television for 30 years, so everyone knew it. And when we started analyzing this logo, we saw that the P and the R, they are more or less the same, and the V and the O, they are opposites. And if you dress it down, an image appears. So you cannot type anything with this. It's not a text. It's a solid logo. And what it binds together is this crooked triangle. So the first thing we did, we wanted to add more rhythm to it, because on the top you see it's in lowercase, on the bottom you see it's in, on the top it's uppercase, on the bottom is lowercase. So our next step was to put it in lowercase, and then you see that the V and the R are more or less the same, and the P and the O are more or less the same. So there is an interesting rhythm going on than when you put it in uppercase. And then we could even bring back the triangle twice. But we needed to work it out a bit. As you can see, in the heart of the P, the triangle is going very nice to the heart, but in the O, it's not centered, it doesn't feel balanced. So if you dress it down, you see it this way. So if we pick up the O and we put it a bit to the right, now you see the second triangle is going to the heart of the triangle, of the O. But there is a big gap between the R and the O. It feels like VPRO. So it should be more connected. So we worked on the type, made it a bit wider, and now you see an interesting grid is laying behind. And in a way we needed this grid because our idea was to make a lot of different variations of the logo, because it's every day on television. So seeing every day the same logo, then it should be surprising. It should be surprising, yeah. And from here, from this idea, we delivered over 1,000 different logos, and I think the set is still growing because everyone can play with it, and you can always update your own logo. And with that concept, we made this animation. And from there we also made a lot of different idents. Idents are very small movies from 3 seconds to 5 seconds, which they place in front of all the programs they are broadcasting. In the last 12 years we made over 50, and this is my favorite selection. Almost there. Yes, that was the last one. But then we also work on campaigns. So we're not only doing the brand identity, but we also really think with the in-house team how we can make campaigns. And we also think about text. And this is saying zo VPRO, which is translated to typically VPRO, typically this. And we made this next campaign movie for them. It's not very COVID-proof, so everyone might put their masks on, if you haven't already. There it comes.
Zo zie je de werkvloer nergens. Zo VPRO. Zo anders. zo torenc. En dankzij extra geld van enthousiaste kijkers.
Geef om de VPRO. Word ook donateur. vpro.nl/zo doe je mee.
This was typically VPRO. And then we also, it's important for us that and for the client, that the identity also work with photographic images. And this is an example of it.
Kære rejser for det 7, så er det nu. Flere af vores kammerater har betalt en høj pris.
Et eller andet sted er det et karrieretræk. Et andet sted er det ren og skær spænding.
And just like the Holland Festival, we also worked on a typeface, their own customized typeface, together with Typeface Foundry Bald Monday again. So from those 4 letters, VPRO, we applied the rules to make a whole alphabet set. And we want that because then you can also make a lot of program titles with that, and everything is connected together. And we make little leaders for television programs like this. There it comes. No. And then we jump to Shanghai. It's the power station of art. We work for this museum for I think 10 to 12 years already. It's showing contemporary art. And when they came to us in the beginning, they already had this logo. It was designed by Soon Hope from Shanghai, a designer. And we saw it's a strong logo we could play with. And it also reflects the building with the chimney, but it also stands for the Chinese character Dang, which means contemporary. And as I already mentioned before with Holland Festival, we don't see a logo who has to stand in the corner, but a logo should be a hero who talks to its audience. So we started to break this logo open. It was our first thing we did. And we were thinking we could make a little toolbox out of it. So from the logo we make a toolbox. We've got 2 short horizontals, 2 longer ones, and 1 vertical stroke. And with this we could make their graphic stationery, the envelopes and the business cards and everything you need. And then every year we make a lot of different campaign posters for them. So here you see what you can do with the logo and with the 5 bars. You can draw over it, they can reveal something, they can act like Swiss mountains and structure information. They can react on photographic images like raining. They can be part of Chinese calligraphic images. More illustrative versions can be made, or act like a framework for photos. And it does its work pretty good on the staff at the museum too. And one of the exhibition designs we did with them was for Body Media. It was an exhibition where they were exploring the role between bodies and identities. And here we really wanted to let the 5 bars of the logo, of the identity, react on human shapes. And the way how we did it was we made our own tool together with coding guy Ben West. Because for us it should be really interactive. So with motion only we could not do the job. So we made our own tool and we could play easy with the pull power and the snap distance. And also non-motion designers could easily work with it. And from there we made this trailer. The static image was again a still from the motion, the static poster. And then 1 year later, Fondation Cartier from Paris traveled to Shanghai, to the PSA. And he would translated this into like moving blobs going from Paris to Shanghai. And it was in PSA in Shanghai, so the screens are very big over there. And here again, also for the big banners, we use the motion as an input, and the static are simply a still from the motions. And also the flag. So we did not make compositions by hand, but the computer was more generating this for us. And also for the invitations and the cards they could send to each other. And from there we made this trailer. Yeah, so that's a bit how we work. I really love to experiment, and if I'm lucky, the experiments end up in projects for clients. And sometimes we also just make exhibitions out of it, like we recently did with the book we just published. This is a book called Why We Design. It reflects 25 years of work of Tonic, Studio Tonic. And in the book we have 11 reasons, 11 chapters translated into 11 reasons. And those reasons are standing for why we design. It's available at Lars Muller Publishers. And we also launched the book in China, and we made a graphic installation out of the book. And here we made 11 rooms, and every room is standing for one of the chapters. And you could walk from one chapter to the other chapter by breaking open the how do you call it, the curtains, and our work was projected on the curtains. And for me this really felt connected to everything we do, because we set rules and then we break it open. And this are some small footage we got from there. And then last year we revealed our first work of architectural project. This is our new studio in Amsterdam, Studio Tonic. And as you can see, since we are graphic designers, the building is very graphic in its construction. Thomas and Nikki put most of their days in it, making this building happen. I think they worked on it for 12 years. Here you see them on the stairs. So the left one is Thomas and Nikki. It's also it's the To and the Nick, which makes it Tonic, Thomas and Nikki. And they are the founders of the studio. And the reason of this studio, or the inspiration of this studio, was the work by Lance Wyman, the Mexico Graphic Olympics he did. We are totally in love with this project because he really connected a mass audience to the graphic design culture, as you can see on this picture. And this is something what we wanted to achieve with this building too. And I also want to show you the inside of the building, so I made a little movie out of it. And here we go. So I'll give you a little studio tour. I'm standing for the building right now, and we just finished it 1 year ago. We designed it all ourselves, so let's go in. So here in the corner we have the kitchen, and at this table in normal times we can lunch together. Thomas is preparing a TV set right here. Hey. And he's standing for the nice wall. It's done by Simone Post from Eindhoven. And it really colors the room, but it also works as an acoustic wall. And here in this corner we can chill a bit or have a Friday night drink. And I'm planning to do some workshops here in the nearby future. And here in the corner we have a nice view throughout the whole street. Here I'm entering the studio space. This is where all the designers work together. And of course of this corona situation, the half of the designers are working from home. And here on the walls we've got some old projects and new projects hanging. And here we've got some colors where we are looking for the nice combinations together. And a wall where we try out our new stuff. And here I'm entering the third floor of the building. And As you can see, we've got a nice bookshelves over here. And they also act as room dividers. So this floor is a bit more with separate rooms. So you can work a bit more in peace. And the carpets on the floor, they are made for an exhibition we did in China. And they have traveled around the whole world for exhibitions. And finally they arrived to our studio so we can enjoy them ourselves. And here's my desk. And there is the presentation I prepared for you. So let's dive in. Well, that's not the presentation I prepared for you. But I wanted to thank you for listening and having me here. That's it.
So, any questions from the audience to start with? If there are questions, you just raise your hands and you get a mic. Okay, we have a question right there.
Yes.
Hold on for the microphone. Please raise your hand. There you go. Okay, so we need the mic, just, oh, here it comes.
There comes one.
Right. Hello. I would like to ask how important is sound design when working for promotional stuff in graphic design? Because you did animations and not just stills. So when you present the thing to your client, how important is it for you to work on sound design?
Well, sometimes sound design is super important to have it involved in the project. And I think the stuff you hear today is mostly, it's pretty experimental music, and we did not work with sound composers, but we just bought the rights, and we use it because I also found that if the sound is a bit more experimental, it really fits the graphic shapes. You know, it really goes well together. And it's also very hard to just make, but sometimes we also work with sound designers. And then, I think if the sound design is good, it makes a good movie, a brilliant movie. So it can be super important.
Okay, thank you.
You are a sound designer, I think?
No, but I have friends who are sound designers, so I wanted to know how good you need to have the communication between those two roles.
Yeah, it's
to get a better product in the end.
Yeah, it is super important. It's also very hard to communicate about because it's so subjective sound, you know. If you say with graphics it should be a bit more open, you know, then we know what to do. But if we say to a sound designer, can it be a bit more open? Then he's like, what is open? What, you know? So it's so hard to work on sound projects, but yeah, I love it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That was an excellent question, and actually, you know, I meant to ask something similar because I don't know if you are aware of it, but the music in the presentation for the Holland Festival is from
Yes.
Yannis Xenakis.
Yannis Xenakis.
Okay.
Yes, it's a Greek guy.
He's a Greek. Actually, some people think he's a composer. He was more like a music designer, he used to say, or architect. And he was an architect as well. He worked with Le Corbusier. I don't know if you're aware of it. So he would design spaces according to the music, or sometimes he would design the music according to the spaces that already existed.
Yeah.
And I was wondering about your procedure. Do you know, and that was a very relevant question. Do you sometimes use music to inspire you for the designs, or is it just the other way around?
And most of the times it is the other way around, that we really just start with the stuff we want to make, and then we search for the perfect sound. But the Yannis Xenakis example, it's interesting. Because I already had this. I always have a Spotify list, and I always have my ears open. And if I hear something interesting, it's added, you know. And when we start working on it, I already thought, oh, this should be something with this Xenakis, because it really fits the experimental approach of the festival. And there I had this piece of music, and I knew which story I wanted to tell, but I started to time it on the plings and the ploings of the music. So there it really went together like a ping pong, you know, like that. But 9 out of 10 times I'm just making, I'm going on, and I think, yeah, now it's perfect. And then a sound designer is picking it up. Yeah. Yeah.
Other questions from the audience?
One more?
Oh, I got loads.
Yeah.
For example, you know that tonic is very distinct, I believe, in the use of colors. You know, a thing that everyone admires about tonic is how you're not afraid to mix colors and, you know, not just the obvious choices every time in the mix.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, that's quite distinctive, although there are a lot of people working for tonic. How many people are there in the studio right now?
At the moment, we are a design group with around 8 to 10 designers, and then we got 3 or 4 people, so our project manager, studio manager, and the planner.
Okay, so my question is, are you designers chosen to fit the style of the studio, or are you like, you're drawn to, because, you know, I know a lot of people in the Netherlands and all over Europe, you know, look up to tonic. But are you drawn to tonic because you believe that your style, you know, fits in there, or how does it work?
Well, if 9 out of 10 times it's an intern who stays as a junior designer, and then a junior designer gets immediate, you know, and the internships, they are mailed to us with PDFs and their works, and then, yeah, if we just love something, we invite them to do an internship, and not always the portfolio is very tonic-y, not at all. It's just like something interesting is going on with interesting thoughts, you know, or beautiful projects. So we invite them to come over for an internship, and then we work more towards each other. But it's not always picked like, you know, this is very tonic-y, so you can come in, not at all. I think we are pretty open. And are just having a lot of interesting in designers who are doing interesting graphic stuff, and we don't want to put our stamp too much on it. But on the other hand, I also hear sometimes that people think that Studio Tonic is one designer because everything looks so solid and the same. So I don't know how it works, to be honest. Yeah.
Is it possible that because the tonic stamp is so powerful that, you know, people are kind of assimilated?
Yeah, yeah. Well, of course, the bold colors, they are working, you know, and if you add a lot of bold colors to a lot of projects, then it also feels like one world, maybe. But to be honest, when I was in college, I was looking up to Studio Tonic, and I was just making tonic-y stuff, you know, like this is what I want to make, you know. So you also, yeah, maybe you also love it a bit, and then you grow to it. Yeah, does this answer a bit the question?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Because, you know, I've talked to lots of Dutch designers, and, you know, I have the feeling of what you just said, you know, that people are drawn, and, you know, they look up to them, and they are influenced, so, you know.
Yeah, but we also can really look up to interns who come in and just have brilliant, crazy ideas which we can use for a project, you know. So I really like the how that works from both sides, you know.
And another thing, of course, is the typography, which is very special. Let's say, my guess is everyone in Tonic is interested in typography.
I think everyone has a love for typography, and as you can see, we use it a lot in the projects I just showed. And yeah, I think typography is a simple tool for everyone to understand. You know, most of us read. You know, so a message, yeah, you need typographic images to communicate. First of all, that, but you also can put a lot of identity in typographic images. You know, so you saw for the VPRO, you can make it really quirky, and for Holland Festival, you can make it really bold and vivid. So that's, yeah, I think it's very interesting about using typography to put a lot of different identities in there.
Yes, I have a question. Thank you for the inspiring presentation. My question is, how important is the final stage of the design process? I mean, how you present the final work for the clients, and what the media you use for it?
So the final stage of the output, the thing you deliver, you mean?
Yes.
Yeah.
The final delivery, how you present it to the client.
Yeah.
Which media you use, and how important is this stage?
Well, it is super important because the outcome is the thing what keeps what you can show to people and what is there and what you put online, you know, and the thing what everyone sees. But normally when we have a presentation, we always make just one proposal with the idea that if you make two proposals, you cannot focus on one thing. So we make one proposal and then we really focus on that. And then in the first presentation, I think it's the most important is that you show the possibilities of an idea, you know. So then, so at that stage, it's not too final at all, and then you start working with the client and getting feedback. That's super important. So you need reasons why something looks how it looks, you know, and that's really something you do together with the client, I think. Yeah, and then the output, yeah, as what I said, it's super important when you have the final dev version. Everyone should be very happy with it. Yeah, does that answer a bit the question? Yeah.
Sure. Thank you.
Thank you. My kids fall asleep. So boring.
Au contraire. It's very exciting stuff. Other questions? Another thing, the Dutch design scene, huge and important and influential. How easy is it for you guys to work in such an environment where I'm guessing the competition is so fierce? And what solutions do you have? Do you look outwards as well? I think, for example, you went to China.
Mm-hmm.
Is that a solution because you're so much cramped in the Dutch market?
Well, I think it's interesting anyway to work with different cultures, to have to make a wide range of portfolio work, And if you only work for clients in Amsterdam, then your world is pretty small, And in Shanghai, they look different to our identities than they do here. So it also really keeps you awake and sharp, I think. And of course, it's nice to have a wide scale of clients also outside the Netherlands with different philosophies and different ways of reacting. Yeah.
But do you feel that, you are aware that the level of the Dutch design scene is, the roof. Do you feel pressured at all?
No, to be honest, I see great work from all over, especially Europe, also coming. I don't think that the Netherlands, I see also great stuff from other studios in the Netherlands, of course. But that's also the great thing about Instagram. Since a couple of years, every studio shows their work online, and you see so much great projects going on. Also the Swiss design projects are great, so I don't feel too much pressure of being a Dutch designer. I just feel pressure to deliver good work, which is, just strong in the base, Yeah.
Any more questions from the audience?
All right.
I think you had quite a few questions.
Yeah, nice, interesting questions. Thanks for being here and listening.
Thank you for your presentation. It was brilliant. Thank you.
Thank you.
Και τώρα έχουμε μία αλλαγή φράση. Να καλέσω εδώ τον συντονιστή του συνεδρίου από εδώ και μπρος, τον κύριο Δημήτρη Δημητριάδη, να αναλάβει Διακοπή λίγων λεπτών.
Λίγο εγώ δύο πράγματα θα πω μόνο. Πρώτο αρχίσει ο Δημητριάδης την παρουσίαση των άλλων. Σας ευχαριστώ και πάλι όλους και εγώ από τη σειρά μου. Ο Γιώτης ο Ιωαννίδης είμαι από τη Φιλάρτια που διοργανώνουμε και το δεύτερο Θεσσαλονίκη Design Week σε συνεργασία με φορείς της πόλης και της χώρας κατ' ουσίαν. Το πρόγραμμα οι περισσότεροι το έχετε δει, μπορείτε να το δείτε όσοι δεν το έχετε δει και στο ίντερνετ, στο site του Θεσσαλονίκη Design Week. Είναι αρκετά πλούσιο, πέρα δηλαδή από το πρόγραμμα του διήμερου αυτού Διεθνού Συνεδρίου. Αρκετά από τα workshop, ή μάλλον κάποια από τα workshop πλέον, έχουν και ένα περιθώριο συμμετοχών μέχρι το όριο που έχουν καθοριστεί από το κάθε ένα διοργανωτή από αυτά. Αν θέλετε μπορείτε να μπείτε και να δηλώσετε συμμετοχή σε όλα αυτά τα οποία υπάρχουν ακόμη. Δεν θέλω να πω πράγματα που μάλλον ξέρετε οι περισσότεροι για το πρόγραμμα το συνολικό του Θεσσαλονίκη Design Week. Τους στόχους του με κάποιο τρόπο τους ξέρετε, μπορείτε να το διαβάσετε και επίσης, σας το λέω έτσι πολύ από πάνω συμπερασματικά, είναι μια προσπάθεια που γίνεται να καθορίσει το Θεσσαλονίκη Design Week σαν θεσμός στην πόλη, στην περιφέρεια, για να μην πω και για τη χώρα, μια δυνατότητα που συνδυασμένο με κάποια άλλα προσπάθειες γεγονότα, τη δημιουργία ένα κλάστερ που αυτή τη στιγμή είναι στην τελική του διαδικασία να περάσει και δεύτερη φάση του και είναι το Innovation Design Cluster, ένας συνεργατικός σχηματισμός από εταιρείες της πόλης αλλά και ευρύτερα της περιοχής και της χώρας. Αυτά όλα τα πράγματα συνδέονται σε μια λογική ώστε να δημιουργηθεί στην πόλη και όχι μόνο στην πόλη, μια δυνατότητα στους νέους δημιουργούς, ολόκληρου του δημιουργικού φάσματος του design, του σχεδιασμού, από την αρχιτεκτονική μέχρι τις ψηφιακές τεχνολογίες, ώστε νέοι άνθρωποι, νέοι επαγγελματίες, σε όλο το χώρο της δημιουργικής βιομηχανίας, να έχουν τη δυνατότητα μιας ομπρέλας, όπου να ενισχύονται οι προσπάθειές τους από την αρχή, από τη διαμόρφωση μιας ιδέας, μιας πρότασης, ενός μήνυ επιχειρηματικού σχεδίου, για να μπορούν μετά, κυρίως για την εξωστρέφεια των δικών τους πραγμάτων που κάνουν, της δημιουργικότητάς τους, να εκφραστεί αυτό το πράγμα σε μια επαγγελματική δυνατότητα και συσχέτιση και με όλο αυτό το φάσμα των δραστηριοτήτων και των ανθρώπων ή των εταιριών που κινούνται σε αυτό το χώρο, πάλι ξαναλέω και με στόχο την εξωστρέφεια. Κάτι που οι περισσότεροι νέοι επαγγελματίες, νέοι δημιουργοί, εκτός από τις μεγάλες εταιρείες, δεν έχουν τόσο εύκολη τη δυνατότητα να κάνουν. Αυτό λοιπόν σκοπεί, έχει στόχο και το Θεσσαλονίκη Design Week και το κλάστερ που αναφέρα προηγουμένως και μια δημιουργία σε δεύτερο χρόνο για την πόλη, για την περιοχή αυτής της ομπρέλας, όπως συμβαίνει και σε πολλές άλλες χώρες, πόλεις της Ευρώπης. Σας ευχαριστώ και εγώ πάλι εκ μέρους των διοργανωτών για τη συμμετοχή σας σε αυτό όλο το πράγμα που γίνεται αυτές τις μέρες. Δυστυχώς, ο καιρός δεν μας επέτρεψε να είναι μεγαλύτερη προσέλευση του κοινού και σήμερα, αλλά και στις άλλες εκδηλώσεις που έπονται. Συνεχίζουμε με σένα, Δημήτρη.
Shall I continue in English? Hello everyone, my name is Dimitris Dimitriadis. I will be your moderator for the next two sessions. When I was driving with my motorbike here in the rain, I was thinking that there will be an audience. And when I opened the door and I saw that there is an audience, I said, okay, this is a waterproof audience, so thank you very much for being here. Did we have both next guests connected? Okay, so the next session is about product design, The speakers will be Danilo Peta and Mrs. Osnur Pinar-Tser. I will read, you can see them, great. I will read some short bios. I have a lot of award-winning stuff in front of me in terms of bios. So I will start from Mrs. Osnur Pinar-Tser. Is an international award-winning Turkish architect and founder principal, lead design architect and mask architect in Italy. She has graduated as the best of her generation, ranking first place of the Faculty of Fine Arts at the Cyprus International University with the high honor degree in 2014. Since 2020, with the involvement of Mr. Danilo Peta in Mask Architects as a co-founder and chief designer officer, they continue to work as partners at Mask Architects company in Sardinia, Italy. Mr. Danilo Peta is also an award-winning Italian watch luxury industrial designer and co-founder and chief design officer at Mask Architects. He studied architecture at Polytechnic of Milan and interior design at Institute Europeo di Design in Milan also, and he began his career in the Design Center of Bulgaria in Rome as a watches designer. Mr. Peta is winner at 40 under 40 competition that select the 40 emerging talents in Europe in the field of architecture and design. Mr. Peta, the floor is yours. Can you hear us? Please unmute your mic. This is the sentence of the year.
Hello everyone. We are honored to be here with you on behalf of Mask Architects in Innovation in Design Conferences. We would like to big thanks to the Thessaloniki Design Week team for their invitation to be here today. And so, Danilo, would you like to say something before I start my talk?
Please unmute your mic first.
Your speech. You are mute. Mute.
Someone from the
Hello?
Great,
yes,
we can hear you now.
Right now, we can hear you.
I want to say hello from everybody in Salonico and to introduce our studio, I let speak Ozunur, and after I will talk about a very new point of innovation in design based on biomaterials.
And so today, and before I start to my talk, I just want to present who is Mask Architects and what is our mission and ideology. The Mask Architects is award-winning multidisciplinary architecture and design company established in Sardinia in 2020. And so the office is led by me from architecture side and Danilo from design side. And so recently the office won many important architecture and design awards. As you mentioned, that one of these is Euro 40 and under 40, represented by Danilo Peta, my partner. And so we are belong different fields, but the main sources of the inspiration that we have been taking from is the diversity of our fields, which we call sustainable architecture and industrial design. With this harmonization of two different fields under one umbrella, for many years, Danilo and I have been working to create a new discipline between design and architecture. in using technological innovation, and also create for more sustainable, eco-friendly, flexible, growable, appendable, and also to respond to any requirements according to location, environmental issue, cultural issues, and population. And so before, above all the first things that we are significantly carry about and manifest is to be good human before being good architect and designer, because we are believe that we are significantly carry about this point, because we are believe that being good human is intensively affecting our way of thinking, and when we are facing any problems and need to find solution. And it's such an awareness, it's such an emphasis, it's such a sensibility. And so in this process, we have been taking care of relationship between human and nature, human and society, and human and environments. From our side, a good design project should always start with the same question: what is the problem? And so this is how we are approaching them and embracing the problem solving and healing the capacity of the design for social issues as a creative way, and also to solve complex issues that trouble our cities today. And so we are getting inspiration from problem, because we love to solve the problem with using our creativity. And so it's in these periods, the role of designer and architects are also make our creativity available for common good by responding in emergencies. It's such a directly users needs designs and products in innovative way. Innovation in technology. Innovation is technological and cultural evolution, the never-ending struggle to solve simple problems and complex problems for the benefit of the individuals. Innovation design is more about making things that both beautiful and useful, such as creating more efficient solution on products and responding to specific needs as to what the present needs and the future will be needed. And so if we don't offer a solution to a problem, or if they don't offer or solve practical issues problem, then they are virtually worthless. And with this scope, design should provide a connection between creativity and innovation. And so it's success when it finds ideal solution based on the real needs of the real people. The creative design needs to be innovative, imaginative, but it must always be rooted in practically. And so today, Danilo and I designed two important projects. And so today we will represent one of two our important projects, and we just try to give the answer that how are we integrating innovation in architecture and design using methods and technology for creating architectural and industrial design projects, which have focus on problem solving and tackling also global issues. And so I just want to start with the artificial breathing pulp modular structure system, OSIS, which has been one of 10 winners of Cool Abu Dhabi challenge, a global competition between more than 1,570 participants and 67 countries. This project has been taking place in the world press with 10 languages, from online to print press, And so because we are find a very important solution to reduce the heat island effect. We significantly believe that it's such an effective solution and message for reducing the heat island effect of the Middle East, which are addressed by climate change. And so we all agree, and also Middle East users agree that other thermal comfort installments are an important issue to public and private space, as well as a sector that will see ease of the trade from climate change to urban development and society. As an answer of Cool Abu Dhabi, we have designed the all-size that is located in the middle of the city to our allocated space, in which will be transformed to space into the comfortable, habitable, breathable area for the residents of the Abu Dhabi. And so they can, in this area, they can be relaxed and enjoy outdoor space without feeling hot. It will make their kind of design, kind of structure, will make their lives more environmentally sustainable and healthy for them to be able to use outdoor space more effectively in their daily routines. We are also, this project was only one structure which has designed in allocated zone, which given by a municipality of Abu Dhabi. But
I have a question. The images was shown in Salonico, or if you have to share your screen?
I just share my presentation, and so they can show our our projects as well as.
No, because we don't see images of the project.
Could you please show our presentation? Is it possible?
Give us just 1 minute to check. Did you share your presentation already? Great, now we can see the presentation.
Yo, other one.
Oh, what is other one?
Yeah. Okay, perfect. Grazie mille, Danilo.
Sorry, Ozzy, but
okay.
In your word, need to associate image of our project.
Absolutely, and but I didn't notice that. Thank you. No. And so we can start with yes, this one.
Okay.
And so we just designed this project for the zone and allocated area that's given by the municipality of Abu Dhabi. But our plan is to provide distribution of this system to all Middle East. So with this system, when we distribute the construction of the Middle East, we can provide, we can reduce the heat island effect more effectively. And so we were inspired by palm leaves to create a real all size in middle of Abu Dhabi. The project design concept has been influenced by the need to create livable outdoor thermal comforts in a greener city, as well as create a real all size in middle of city. The palm canopies are, I just want to say how we are integrating in architecture and design using innovative technologies. The palm canopies are underlined with nozzle that spray mist into the air to create a cooler environment. With this technique, with this technology, return will be keep the temperature lower and controllable in the all size area. And we will collect, and also we will collect and harvest the solar energy with the solar panels placed in the top of the roof of the palm structure. You can see, we can go another page if it is possible. Yeah. You can see that it really has a unique aesthetic looks from surrounding area, as well as keep in touch with the local heritage. This is one of the most important and architectural issues. And so landscape of historical also, and also modern design. The all size is, yes, we are design the all size with today and with today's technology and opportunity, but the project is also future provide beneficiary for the future mind too. The project answer all the design, answer all the issue of modern urban and social space development that we faced in such an environmental issues in region. It's such a, the structure will be act as a barrier from regional and environmental issues such as heat, UV rays, noise, the wind, and the sandstorm. This will be the main system, which will control by atmosphere within space to keep in comfortable and relaxable area for the all. It's important that that we keep the residents socially and physically engaged with the surrounding by increasing their desire to interact with the outdoors, because it's not easy to carry on their life at the outdoor space, but we just want to create for them livable, breathable outdoor space with using innovative technologies. And so we design, under these canopies, we have designed a multi-use space in which will act as a refuge from surrounding areas that are overheated. The mechanism that can be replicated easily to form of the network of the hub, and also center point in which they act as islands of the rest place for socializing and social communities for the collective and the community. It's
the page have to be go next. To
we
see
can go
the
next.
canopies.
Yeah.
And
so we
also,
can go to the next one.
Next.
I just want to I just want to say about how we are using these groups. We just want. Can we go to paste another page? Another. Yes, that one. As you see that the images, it's modular design. And with this modular design, allow grouping of the palm structure that can be implemented in various and multi-space of all scale and environmental as each model is capable to that needed. And so the foundation that house all the water storage and vital equipment will be set up the first the appointed land where a cooling is required. So our design will provide any requirements with the options, with the option of flexibility, expandability, development, and open design solution. And this is one of the important design approaching, because if you design something, it should be respond all the needs, also in present and also for the future. And so at the same time, the modules, modular variation can be used in group, or they can be distributed individually, depending on the requirement of the variation and use in the public space. Could you please go to another page? As you can see, it's such a appendable system. We have a benches, we have a bench, and so we are having 5 type of a different module when you look at top. And so we have a branches, and so with these branches, you can create any variation of the height that according to needs of the site and need of the space. And so I just want to say, could you please go another page? Yeah, as you see on these images, that we can create any group, any modules with this different type of the modules. And so at the same time, the modules, modular variation can be used in group, or they can be even distributed individually. It depends on required variation and public space. With the foundational files, could you please go another page? Yes, as you can see that top of images that show how cooling Mystic system is working. And so on those left side. Do you want to say something, Danilo?
When you want, I can explain the technical principle of the function. Yeah. When you want, okay. Wherever you want.
Okay. I just say only one thing, then you can continue if you want.
You call me whatever you want.
Yeah, I just want to say about how we are provide foundation. The foundation, as you see on the images, we have a foundation housing storage units. Will be able to store electricity as well as distributed outlet space. The fitted under the palm are lights that will be interactive. The artificial breathing palm modular structure system will be the atmosphere will be also exhibition space for art and installation and design weeks. And so on, we can ensure that the atmosphere, when we create kind of a space and in the event, in the function, the users will be exciting from children to the elder people. And so the nozzles and the large circles are mixed randomly together to provide different variation, because this is very important from our side. Even if we are integrated the technology in architectural and industrial design project, the technology also should be part of a design and should be part of total design. And so design cooling nebulizing nozzle with the fan system with high pressure misting fans on the land that are extremely effective in lowering the temperature on the outer patio by up to 30 degrees. The mist with these fans are equipped with custom design cooling nebulizing nozzle with the fan system. And so you can join me, Danilo. You can express the technology part.
Okay. The gaining point of this project, you say right, Oznur, was the integration of the industrial cooling system in the design, like air conditioning splitter, for example, in a different scale. The principle of the Abu Dhabi cooling system is to nebulize a little drop of cool water. The nebulizing system have a volume, take volume and area, because we are mounted the fan around the nebulizing system. And the drop of this cooled water is around 1 micron. This system is called adiabatic cooling system. In Cooling Abu Dhabi, also, we are integrated another system that need to help the pollution of the air. Is the ionic charging of the molecular water particles. Why? If we charge with a positive ion each particle of the water, the water particle charged take the pollution and tack for gravity going down. That means that with the ionic system we can have also air more breathable, more clear, or more clean. This is integrated for the first time in a park like the cooling Abu Dhabi.
Also we are with the system, and also we are clean the air, and so from dust smoke, common pollutions, right? And also we have a battery powered and self-powering water times. We have a that's account the amount of the water, and also ACP controller, lower matter time and pressure, temperature sensor, and also available in our system, because the important to provide adjustable and controllable system by technological advancements, right, Danilo?
Yes, I can say that also most important things is to create an island with this shape that create a balance in the park that have 26, 27 degree of temperature, Celsius, of course.
Yeah. Also, with this system that we will provide custom design nebulizing system. With I just want to say how we are integrating industrial design and architecture. And also this system is adjustable by smartphone application with improved by Arduino electronic card system. And so this is also one of the important things, that if you design something, it should be also provide easily adjustability, and so provide you controllable system. And so with this, this is not only one technology, and so this is how we are provide innovative
minimum 5 technologies together.
Yes, absolutely. And so I just want to go another project. This is our one of last project, and so that we design is ExoSteel Mother Nature modular prefabricated living museum houses. We just go another page, and we just design the world's first steel 3D printer structure of modular houses for Nivola museums, visitors, tourists, and also artists in Orani, a city of Sardinia. At this moment, our studio is the first architecture and design studio in the world to use steel 3D printed exoskeleton construction system that support and distributes all the function element of the building, and using our new innovation solution of the construction technique, which they call ExoSteel. And so the house is composed first by hollow central column inserted for one of third of its length into the ground, and by various organic the branches that will support the three floor of the building. Each one of the floor of perimeter frame divided and supported the facades, made up of the panel and modulates of the full of the organic shape of the houses. And so,
you can go next page.
And so, La Madre, this is Madre, Italian name is Madre Natura, so it's a sustainable development of the modular system style in natural setting, inspired by the work of Constantino Nivola. We have taken inspiration from the hymn sculpture, which is called Le Madre, and so it's situated near Nivola Museum zone, and we have taken the whole area into account while designing the project. And so, could you please go another page? Our development is a design in a way to become living landmark in connection with the local heritage. This iconic project will be a new addition to the Orani social exhibition and living areas. Sorry, Danilo.
No, sorry you. I only add that it's a living sculpture, right?
See, absolutely. It's such a living sculpture, like living museum that we are called also, right? And design will be an iconic identity as a livable and sociable art pieces that we can call an architectural structure that will develop a new identity of the city. And so, because Nivola Orani is right now need to be seen, need to be provide visibility. And so, as an architect and designer, we just get the inspiration from Constantino Nivola sculpture, and so to create some landmark, living landmark of the city, at top of the mountain, il vicino di Living Museum, Nivola Museum. We aim, what we aim, I just want to say about this point. We aim to integrate architecture, design, technology in innovative ways using new construction techniques. This is how we are integrate innovation in design with using a new construction technique, which is not done before on the world. And also to preserve and to protect heritage of the Orani. And also give the respect of the Constantino Nivola and also his work, and also to continue his legacy with using modern techniques and the art style integrated within this innovative design. But this project is also dedicated to women because, as we've seen in the history of Orani, and we have seen the efforts of the woman within this city and for the city, right? And so we have dedicated our modules to our protagonists, our mothers, Mother Nature. And so each building, which is this is most important things, each building is self-sustainable, can also provide energy, resources to the grid of the development. We have designed each module to always be expandable and flexible, so that they can always suit any terrain to meet the needs of any development. We can go another page, per favore. Yeah, we can go. Also, we can go another. And so this is very good images and express well that what we have done. And so, as you see that each building is centered with the energy tower, which is located at the center of the building. This energy tower will be provide all natural generated energy from solar and the wind turbine. The energy is covered with the solar panels that will harvest solar energy, while at top of center energy power itself will rotate it 360 degrees. And so at the same time with the wind that will also generate wind turbine energy. And as you see on the images, the voids in the module allow the channel wind through that can be directly to the wind turbines. Placed at top of the tower are also includes technological instruments such as smart camera and also fire detector. And so, because we are see that at this moment we have been tackling with global issues such as fire, such as unforestedness, and so with this technology, with this energy tower, we can also want to provide security for the Orani, for the city. And so also with this smart camera, with this fire detection, we want to contribute to save the world, protect of the nature, protect of the all that who are existing on the world, animals, nature, trees, all. And also this is provide such a social security, as I told you, like a natural security against of the natural disaster. And so, do you want to say something about this part, Danilo, technology part?
Yes, in this case, also the key point of our brief is to take technology from industrial design and changing of the scales. This was the gaining point of this project, because we bring the 3D printing of metal in housing scales. We have the first companies that invest in this field, and the big format on 3D printing now is possible. This because we have KUKA technology and robotics arms that we can print whatever you want in terms of modularity and volumes. This kind of technical construction is more than alternative solution. We believe that is the solution of the future. Why? Because we can optimize exactly the quantity of the material. We have the software that calculates exactly the volume of material that we need to give self-supporting structure. We don't have limit of forms. We can think like we have a supporting system like a tree. And also the material and the steel is 30% less than normal steel construction. And for the energy tower inside, when this element distribute all function and is an energy tower, because also we have a geodesical system for to have the hot water and also to give a good climate inside the house. On the top, we have the wind and the solar paneling, and also a smart yacht technology that provide satellite internet connection, that means very, very speedy connection, and also can control all the animals and human movements around all the city. This provides the security that means Odsnor. And okay, it's for me, it's I can explain the most important thing. So you
Absolutely.
can go ahead.
Absolutely. And so I'm just finished. I just say like last one, please. And for all our project, and Daniel and I have been trying to use the new materials, the new methods advanced in computational design practice, innovation in building technologies, and also construction techniques, and integration of the research with the design. In conclusion, from my side, is Musk architects have been improving on how innovation have been implemented on actual architecture and industrial design projects in harmony, and how design and technical innovations are used to improve building performances, as well as design practice in cutting-edge architectural and engineering firms. And so from my side, it's done. And so I just want to thank to all that who are giving their time for us. And so I just pass to my partner, Danilo, and because he will present very important, very important topic. And also I'm so excited to listen to you. It's yours.
It's a pleasure to work with you and to make conference with you, Ozno.
Grazie. Thank you so much. Also for me. Also for me.
Okay. We have now the central point of the conference with the innovation and design. And I asked the organization, is possible to show my presentation? I can explain what I prepared for you today. And my speech was centered on the biomaterials and how the designer take in this challenge. I tell you something of very personal that I see 2 weeks ago. It was about the fungi on Netflix, a very interesting documentary.
Yeah.
And I am very impressed of the mycelium system on the ground. From this point, I'm thinking, what is also the point in the world of biomaterial that starting for this kind of vegetables, this kind of natural elements. And on my answer, I keep so much material. I'm very surprised at what I found. And we have a real alternative of the plastic and bioplastic on the textile, and also of the carbon fiber material, more sustainable, more eco-friendly, and renewable. I starting from the next page. Is a designer that make me curious a lot, that develop a microbial weaving. This is a cultivated vegetal bacteria that give you an plastic like Kevlar, and you can drive the growth of this bacteria like a texture. You see the white part. And this material is the most important candidate to replace the Kevlar in this moment. If you want to go deeply in this way, you can study and search Vita Larvo works. I provide you also all the bibliography on the pictures, okay? And these biomaterials are like the birth of these biomaterials is for chemical reason, of course, is used on biomedical fields to replace the human skin or important parts of the human body, with a cultivation of cellular system in laboratories. And this division on biomaterials in design was a natural way, because the scientists discovered that we can make a leather also in laboratory. We don't have to kill any animal. And the designer have taken this idea to develop a very interesting range of material. Of course, at this moment, the costs are very high, but it's the future. And if you see the company Modern Meadow, they collect all these kind of materials and make like a state of art of the developments. Some of this product is available, but from the part of material recycled by the garbage. This is the point when I arrive in 10 minutes, okay? Okay, also, another, if you go another other page, okay, this, Biofaber. Biofaber is a startup, Italian startup that produces bacterial celluloid. What I mean bacterial celluloid? Is like a fiber that you find now on the trees, on the vegetables. And they cultivate this fiber using bacteria to grow, to make, to starting from 1 millimeter of fiber to grow and become 2 meters of fiber. And in this picture, you see some example of this material. In internet, you can follow them on Biofaber company. Also, if you think that in the next future we need paper, we need napkins, we need also textiles, also sunglasses is made by celluloid, and this material can replace this field, this category of products. I go on the next and I show you I think the most important things that is now available on the market is the bio cultivated leather. This sheet that you see in the picture is like a real part in leather, but is cultivated in laboratory. That means that the animal it's live and is happy in this mountain. It's running. It's in this space, and we can make a large sheets of leather, starting from a little group of cellular parts. This way of this kind of material is available, and is possible to make all the treatment that you make on the animal skin, like color, like protection for waterproof protection, layering, cutting, whatever you want is leather. You can choose also the thickness, and you can produce also the thickness that you want. All in laboratory is a very revolution in this field, I think. I think also the people that work in the fashion world know this point. We are also developing a wine grape textile that will replace the leather made by grape wine fruits. I go now on the next chapter that was the exactly this image. This image is we passing from biochemical materials, biocultivated materials, to bioregenerated materials. That means that all our organic garbage can be used to produce a big range of products. And for example, a company that I like so much is Fiber Sheet. They make natural fiber like roots, like peeling of the fruits, and we make starting from this we make textiles and clothes. Very interesting to see this website because it's unbelievable beauty. Also the materials were done on the render. Also for tactile sensation is amazing. You feel the natural feel of this material. Fiber Sheet is the name of the company. Also, I go next page. All know the chicken and the eggs of chicken. Okay, the eggs of chicken is one of the most interesting materials that can replace the porcelain. In addition with a specific resin, you can make all you need to drink a tea, to drink a coffee, to make little jewelry, to make also a set of for dining table. This company is the Green Lab and the Grow Lab, is both startup that make this beautiful white yellow material, matte material, starting from the edges. In the next page, we have Ponto Biodesign. that is like branding, like a bio Tetra Pak. She make a bio packaging using biomaterial in the same way on the old fabrication ways. This means that the celluloid can be waterproof and can be a layer inside the milk box storage. And you can imagine the quantity of paper and aluminum and nylon that we put on the garbage after we drink a liter of milk. And this guy produce a packaging that you can use to grow your flower in your balcony. Very incredible technologies. Ponto Biodesign is the name. Okay. I give you all the name because I think that's important. Each of us have idea, and the value of the idea is also right that can the name of these people will be put in value and associated on these materials. And for the next page, okay, I choose Toto Moxtel, one page before. Okay, I choosing Toto Moxtel because after the pandemic situation of the COVID disease, all of us using a gel from the hands with alcoholic parts sides. And Toto Moxtel is the first word hydrogel that is made by vegetal cellular cultivation. This means that the hydrogel can be also fabricated by, for example, aloe vera, or in laboratories by a little group of gel cellular of aloe vera can be grown by cultivation in the laboratory to be hydrogel, like the same we use to cleaning the hands. The hydrogel now is a chemical product and is not very easy to recycle this product, because after is a vapor that go in the atmosphere. It is based on CO2 molecular parts. I think next page. The resistance runner is one of the most famous products made 100% with vegetable textile, and was made in collaboration by the designers Marcel van Ders and Ross Lovegrove. They take a bacteria that grow on vegetable fiber, And with this system, he make a big bobbin. This bobbin was colored with traditional methods of the shoes fabrication, and also the plastic, the bioplastic ear is made by a cultivated microorganism that take these strong and elastic properties like the rubber. I will go on to next page on the coral calcium next. This was one before. Okay. This is a representation. What I say before is a macro textile made by vegetable cultivated fiber. It seems ugly, but it's only to understand that we can make textiles with the vegetable fiber cultivated in laboratory. Next page. Next. Okay. This also, I think, I like so much this product. Is named coral calcium. This is a material made by a coral reef on the Scandinavian coast, and this is a coral that naturally dead on the reef and go on the beach by the waves. With these materials, we can produce such a beautiful ceramic pieces. In the next page, and okay, I have something that one page again. Okay, this. And this coral of the reef is recycled, and in addition with eco-sustainable resin, is possible to make a real ceramic. In this case, you see a spoon and plate and glass, and have exactly the same physical properties of the ceramic. And this material is also used from starting last year for in a watch design, a very famous brand. Make a patent of this material and name this material bioceramic, and is based on deep coral of the roof, on the Scandinavian roof. Next page. This is one of the most interesting things that we can use also tomorrow for you if you are a textile designer, and is a cellulose knit made by citrus and orange. This is incredible innovation that is made by the skin of the fruits mixed of fungi spores. Okay, and these materials like a cotton material you can use for your clothes. You can make exactly the same use of the actual cotton knit. In the next page, this is a very impressive things that all of us have to know, because on the ground around us, each step that we make on the ground, we touch like 15 kilometers of mycelium wire. This mycelium wire is the net, the vegetable net, that colleague of the planet. And the mycelium is a material that we can grow on a mold. We can grow the mycelium on a mold, and we can obtain a material that named mogu. Mogu is a material that is similar of the winter clothes. Is a isolating material, have the same properties of the polyurethane. Is like a isolating thermic isolator material. And in the next page,
we have 1 more minute. Danilo, can you hear us?
For me,
I see that you have many pages left. This is why I informed.
Yes. Okay, to close this chapter, I want to say only one thing, that all designers and architects in these moments and for the future have to integrate the sustainable thinking in the process of creation. And this is important that all of us take this point like a mission, because the planet is in a very bad situation, and also microplastics are a very killer for all our beautiful creature on the ocean. This kind of fiber that I show you today can replace without any danger for the animal, also can be a good food for the animals in the ocean. Thank you. Sorry, I have so much typology of material, but I know I have a lot of time. I cannot go ahead.
I just want to say one thing before we just finish. Innovation in design is the important things is to way of thinking, design thinking way. And so, as my partner say about this way of thinking, we have to improve of that at this point. And so we have to use recycled materials and so on. And thank you for all your support and inviting us today to be here.
Thank you very much. We are
Next
going
year,
to...
I promise you that Musk will be physically with all of you in the concert hall. Okay?
Thank you very much. We will give the audience to get some questions and stay here.
Okay.
Do you have any questions? We don't have any questions from the audience, but I have one. As regards, you create an expandable modular oasis that cleans the air, creates an anionic environment, dropping the temperature, and this all is modular, adapting to conditions of Abu Dhabi. Can you give us a detail of your vision about the different uses of this space?
I can give the answer, Ozlur.
Yes, yes, you can. You can. Please.
I want to explain what is the social life in Abu Dhabi. All the people live in a shopping mall. All the people live in air conditioning, beautiful skyscraper, but cannot live on the air. In Greece, you can take a pause, you go outside of concert hall, you smoke a cigarette, you talk with a friends, you go take a glass of wine in the street of Salonico. It's not possible in all the city of Emirates because the temperature it's like 14, 15 degrees. Also under the shadow. How can solve this problem? Wow, how can solve?
We just asked this question before we start.
A park with a conditioning system that provide a new way of the people, the social life. You can enter in this park with a good temperature like 27, 28. You can make a temporary showroom. You can present a new car. You can make an aperitif for your birthday. All of this outside is a great changing. This is not possible now.
We are just changing a way of thinking. We just create for users is like a new lifestyle because Abu Dhabi users need to be socialized and at the outdoor space. And so before we start this project as a designer and architect, we just ask the question, as I mentioned on my speech, what is problem and what the users needs to carry on their routine, daily life at outdoor space. And so, okay, we just first ask the question and after we start to find a solution. Because Danilo and I brain work like this. This is why I mentioned that human important from our design way. Because when we have facing the problem, like such a global changes, global crisis problems or environmental problems, such as social issues. And we are focusing to find solution for problems.
Human is the center of our research and study.
Human-centered design that we are approaching and we are embracing the problem-solving way. And we are inspiring. To be honest, we are inspired from problems. We love to solve problems with Danilo using innovation.
We want to change the tendency of the last 10 years. The architecture and the product that we design not have to represent my face or the face of Ozlur. Have to solve a problem of another person.
And also,
this is the big mistake of the last 10 years. We make a great architecture that represents yourself, but in the most of the biggest and giant architecture, we do not solve any problem, but we create problems for the people. That's what we want to change.
Yeah, and also the pandemic is such a wake-up call for the all who are want to contribute of the architecture and design in the way of life. And so with this pandemic has made us fundamental rethinking of the function of the city, the public space, building and home. This is right now a new way of architecture, a design in innovative technologies. And so we are trying to use technology with our creativity to solve the problems. And so we really love to busy with the projects that who are need us in from our creative way.
Thank you for your presentation. And we are moving forward to our next session. Thank you. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much.
So we are going to move forward with the program. The next presentation is about design thinking, the evolution of design thinking from innovative product design to organizational transformation. The speaker is Stephen Ney, which is the fellow at the HBI School of Design Thinking. I will tell you some details about Stephen, and then I will call him to just a little bit. Okay. Stephen completed his doctorate in the policy science at the Department of Comparative Politics in the University of Bergen in the beginning, and in April 2021, Stephen joined the HBI Academy as Director of Education, and his responsibility includes the development of the new formats and new customer segments, as well as the forging of extended innovation ecosystems. Stephen, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Okay, now I have a heart attack. Thank you very much for staying. My name's Stephen Nye. I'm the academic director of the HBI Academy. And this is going to be a little bit of a different type of presentation than the other two you've heard. For one, I am not a designer. I have a social science background. Even worse, I'm a political scientist formally, and informally, I'm a social anthropologist. I've had an informal training in social anthropology. But one thing I've always been interested in is how societies solve complex problems. And that's sort of how I ended up doing what I do now, which is I invent or I design, I suppose I am a designer, I design programs for innovation and change within organizations based on the method called design thinking. So what is design thinking? You've just heard, just a few moments ago, that human centricity should be the center of design. So what we do in design thinking, or what we as non-designers, when we take design thinking, is basically for us design thinking is a way of applying the methods of design, and I'm assuming all of you have a design background, applying the creative methods of design that you've all heard about onto problems that probably you designers would not immediately be confronted with. And the most important thing the way we do it is through human centricity. So and what we try and do is we solve problems through innovation. And our conception of innovation is it starts from human needs. Now, I'm German, as you can hear, obviously. That was a joke, never mind. That fell flat. Okay, no jokes. So I'm half English, I'm German. And in Germany, when we usually think of innovation, we start with technology. We have a gadget, and it does something really cool. And then people go, oh, can we sell it? So in come the business people, and they try and create needs, and find out after 5 years of development that no one really needs it. And what we try and do is the other way around. We try and start with human needs, which incidentally is also a very social scientific way of going about it. That's sort of our contribution to this. I'll talk a little bit more about design thinking later on. Okay, so design thinking started as product design. IDEO, I'm sure you've heard of the firm IDEO in California, which is basically sort of a spin-off from Stanford. IDEO formalized this and introduced it to the Stanford D School, and a lot of product and service designs emerged from that. This over here is a way of getting kids into an MRT, which, as you know, is a very scary experience. This Keep the Change is a Bank of America innovation in which, where they looked at extreme users and saw that single mothers in the United States would round up in their household books, would round up the cents so that they could save something without really saving something. So they made an entire account around it. And the Embrace, which some of you may know from a development context, is a very low cost but high-tech incubator for premature children. So these are things that they've all come. Oh, and the last thing is, of course, S/4HANA, which Hasso Plattner, who is sort of the granddaddy of where I'm from. Hasso Plattner is one of the founders of SAP, and he's also one of the people that has brought design thinking to Germany. And they used design thinking to develop the new, well, it's not so new anymore, but their newest database system, which is S/4HANA. So all these things were sort of originally what design thinking was about. In a way, we see some sort of evolution here already, an evolution from sort of commercial products to sort of more human-centered and social entrepreneurship issues. But what I'd like to talk to you about today is one step further, is sort of the next level of evolution where multidisciplinary designers like you can have a really strong impact on. I'm assuming you're all designers. I'll just assume that. Are you all designers? Are you still awake? Are you all designers? Just like my students at 8 o'clock in the morning. Okay, so you're all designers, good. So this, you can have a design, you can have an impact on design. So design thinking, so the way that you guys go about creating new things is also a way that can be repurposed to reform organizations. And I'll tell you how we do this. So I really wanted to do 3 things in this speech. One, I want to show you how design thinking can help tackle complex and uncertain problems, which you already know, but I'll tell you anyway. 2, I want to show you how that same process can create the types of organizations that we need in order to tackle these problems, because organizations are sort of the home of where these things happen. And 3, very briefly, I'd like to just show you some insights that we gained from research over the years. Okay, good. So why do we need organizational development? Well, you've all heard this. We live in a VUCA world. We live in a world that's increasingly volatile, uncertain, complex, and characterized by ambiguity. I think the last 2 years have really shown us that that's the case. And in a VUCA world, we have specific type of challenges that you have to deal with, that we as societies, as humans have to deal with. And these are called wicked problems. Now, I haven't come up with that. I can see people nodding. You've heard that before. Wicked problems is a term that was coined by a German designer called Horst Rittel and an American, I think, urban planner called Melvin Weber in 1973. And their argument was that by 1973, most what they called tame or simple, or I'll just say engineering problems had been solved. And what you were left with were the complex, the uncertain, the very intractable problems. So building bridges and road infrastructure was more or less done. What you then had a problem with was urban and transport infrastructure. One thing is a tame problem, the other thing is a wicked problem. And all the problems that we deal with today, or the ones that we want to deal with today, that are worth dealing with, are wicked problems. The biggest one is global climate change, or the challenge of new work, of trying to find new ways of work with changing environmental and now pandemic, but also with changing societal backgrounds. Or the idea of digital transformation. These are very wicked problems because they're complex and they're uncertain. Now, my argument is that design thinking operates at two levels, like I said. On the one level, it enables us to deal with these wicked problems by creating multi- and interdisciplinary solutions. Now, I'm from a university background. I used to be a professor. I no longer am. But of course, really what we're talking about is diversity, is social plurality. And what design and design thinking does, it manages to mobilize that social plurality. But more than that, it manages to train that on to these wicked problems. Yeah? And these types of solutions that are multidisciplinary and they take ideas from many different parts are what my colleagues call clumsy solutions. Why clumsy? Because they don't really fit together. They're not elegant. They're not an elegant engineering solution or an elegant biomedical solution. It's got biomedical engineering, and they're clumsy. So that's at one level. And at the other level, I will argue, and I've argued this in a book. I've got to plug the book. I should have had a slide with it. I've argued this in a book called Putting Design Thinking to Work. Christmas is around the corner. I think you should buy it, and it makes a wonderful gift for your spouse or your children. If anyone's interested, email me later. I've got the ebook. I'll be happy to send to you. And my argument in this book is that not only is design thinking good for solving these problems, it is also at the same time, or it is also one of the ways that it creates the types of institutions that are capable of dealing with wicked problems. So the one thing is the problem-solving process itself, and the other one is the organization that can house, that can be a home to that problem-solving process. So we call those messy institutions, and you'll see why in just a moment. Good. So why does design thinking, or why does what you guys do in design and design thinking, why does that, what is the basis of that? There's many ways to explain this. I tend to explain it through this concept called frames, or people call them paradigms as well. Ways of mindsets, that's sort of the new word for it, is a mindset. But it's sort of a way of thinking, and it's a way of perceiving the world. It's a set of ideas and a set of cognitive and normative resources. So not only does it tell us what's right or wrong, but a frame also tells us what's right or wrong, that's normative, but the frame also sort of directs us where to look when we analyze a problem. So in a little bit like in this nice picture here, what these cognitive frames do, let's say psychology would be a frame, or Keynesian economics. I have an economics background. What these frames do is the following. They foreground some things. So a frame puts some things into the foreground. It puts some things into the background, and then it says that some things are salient or important, and yet other things are completely irrelevant. That's what frames do. Yeah, you look at a complex problem, uncertain problem, and the frame says, look at that, look at that, look at that, that's important, that isn't. And I'm not saying that frames are bad. Some of you might have read Daniel Kahneman's work on slow and fast thinking. He has that with biases, cognitive biases. This is not to say that frames are bad. This is the way we think and perceive. There's no way around this. Yeah? There's also a neurological argument here, which I'm not qualified to make, but there's a neurological argument. So frames are the way we perceive the world. Then you can already see what the problem is with complex problems, isn't it? What the issue is with complex problems. And the issue is, of course, by trying to perceive the world, we have to ignore other things. But those things may be just the thing that will undermine your solution. Yeah? So what you really need to do is get as many frames in the solution as you can. That's the idea of clumsy solutions. So why does design thinking, the way we teach it at the HBI D School and the HBI School of HBI Academy, which is where I work, basically we have a series of mindsets which we train onto. We get small groups of, well, not designers, but small groups and diverse groups to work on complex problems using these mindsets. And one of them is, of course, human-centeredness. We talked about that, you heard about that in the previous presentations. The next one is learning through experimentation. Now, you can tell, I can already see you guys going, yeah, I heard it all before. This is a slide I show business people. Yeah, they're blown away by this. Yeah, but learning through experimentation, through repetition, embracing uncertainty. Yeah, so rather, if we live in a VUCA world, we don't reduce uncertainty and ignore it, which is what a lot of scientific or a lot of paradigms do. We embrace it and we go looking for it. We explore a problem rather than saying, okay, this problem needs a bridge or this problem needs X. We say, we don't know what this problem needs. We've got to figure that out. And we want to be radical about it because it's innovation. But the most important things for what we're talking about today, just for today, the most important thing is the collaboration in teams. Okay? So the design thinking that we like to work with has a variable space, which I won't talk about now, but the two interesting, salient things for now are the design thinking process. I'm sure you've seen, it's the double diamond. Do you know the double diamond? Double diamond? No? Oh, all right, okay. I should have put that up. This is a basic design thinking process. I'll get to that in a minute. But the most important things for what we're talking about now is a multidisciplinary team. A team, and when I say disciplinary, I really actually mean more than that. I mean transdisciplinary. Not just a biologist, an engineer, and an architect. Sounds like a joke, doesn't it? Biologist, engineer, and architect come into a bar. What I really mean is people of different ethnic backgrounds, people of different life experiences, people of you have artists in there, designers, everything. Yeah. Now, more often than not, multidisciplinary, because we come from a university context, we're close to a university. Of course, disciplines are the easiest way to articulate diversity, but that's not the case in large firms. The large firms, the easiest way is cross-functionality. You have people from different departments in them. But basically, what we have here is the multidisciplinary team manages to deal with complexity. Remember, complexity is factors from all sorts, from all sides, all different factors that you don't know which one's the most important. And the design thinking process, because it's iterative, makes you deal with uncertainty. Yeah? So complexity and uncertainty. And it deals, a multidisciplinary team deals with complexity by using what is called integrative thinking. I wish I would have come up with that term, but I didn't. It was Roger Martin, who is a professor of business at, in Canada, in Toronto, I think, University of Toronto. And he wrote 2 wonderful books about, they're really actually quite good. I rarely say that. Oh no. Oh, I've given it away. No, all the suspense is gone. Sorry. Integrative thinking. And he basically argues, he looks at entrepreneurs and he says, okay, what is it that they do? And he says, well, and this is a book called The Opposable Mind, which is a wonderful, wonderful play on words in English. You know that the Homo sapiens was supposed to have its dominance because of an opposable thumb, because our thumb goes in the different direction. So he says entrepreneurs have an opposable mind. And that means that they can take ideas from different frames, not just the one that they're trained in, but from different frames. And in their head, they put it together. And from that clash of ideas, innovation emerges. Yeah? That's the source of innovation, of putting things together that don't really fit. You have a problem, and you get different views on it from different frames, and in their head, yeah, in their own mind, they manage to do that. And usually at this point, I ask my audience, the audience, whether they know any innovators. I think I'll ask you too. What innovators can you think of while I have a drink? What is an example of an innovator? Everyone's gone to sleep. No, give me a name. When I say innovator, what person do you think of? Ah, that's very good. Not Steve Jobs. Usually it's Steve Jobs. Yeah, usually it's Steve Jobs or Elon Musk. I like Coco Chanel. I thought Coco Chanel was an absolute genius. The phrase, and really what integrative thinking does is reframe. I don't want to go too much into depth, but you know all about this. This is design synthesis, yeah? Is reframing of problems. And Coco Chanel reframing of there are no ugly women, but only lazy women is genius, absolute genius. Steve Jobs never did anything like that. Anyway, but the ultimate, so they do all this in their head. And the person who really is the archetypical is the Renaissance man, which is Leonardo da Vinci. And Leonardo, what could he do? He was an artist. He was a physician. He was an engineer. He was an inventor. He had all these different things. And he could synthesize all that into wonderful art. Apparently the anatomic drawings are still used in medical school, probably for historical reasons, but you know. You can see the problem, can't you? So our previous speakers said, you know, the planet is dying. They were absolutely right, and we need action. We have all these wicked problems. And you can see the problem if I'm having trouble with this thing. If our solution is going to be a Leonardo, why? He only comes along every 500 years. There's not enough geniuses like that to save the world. That's the basic issue. Yeah? Now, one workaround around that is this, team-based integrative thinking. And that's what we do in design thinking. It's one of the many things we do. We bring together a different team, a very diverse team, and we make them do in the team what Leonardo da Vinci and Elon Musk and Coco Chanel and all those geniuses do in their head. Yeah? Because, I don't know, I'm sure you're all geniuses, but they don't come along. I mean, I find it difficult enough to deal with my own discipline, but it's much easier to work in a team. And from that, we can then, and that creates the types of solutions that at least have a chance of addressing the complexity and uncertainty of wicked problems. So let me move, that's the first point. Let me move to my second point. Why don't we have more of that is the question. And the answer to that is that our contemporary organizations, particularly large organizations, are not equipped to do team-based integrative thinking. And the dilemma can be explained in the juxtaposition of these two ideas. In 1993, an American organizational theorist called James March, a very famous organizational theorist, argued that successful organizations need to do two things. They need to exploit their resources, and at the same time, they need to explore new horizons. But the problem with that is the things you do to exploit are very, very different from the things you do to explore. In a way, they're polar opposites, and our organizations aren't really very good at exploring, but they're very good at exploiting. Or the other way around. Startups are very good at exploring, but after 3 years, they sort of fall apart because they have no organization. Yeah? So Roger Martin, the guy with the integrative thinking, says something very similar. He calls it validity and reliability. You need both. You need reliable production in whatever you're doing, even if you run a charity. You need to be able to reliably produce what it is that you're doing. And you also need validity. You need to do things that make sense. Yeah? But both of these things don't go hand in hand. The organizational logics, as I like to call them, are fundamentally different. One calls for a sort of rigid, I'd say, hierarchical structure in which you optimize. The other one, optimize and work along a cost-benefit analysis. This is typical Weberian, those sociologists in the room. And this is more you try and figure out what's right. Very, very different things. And this leads to what the late Professor Christensen at Harvard called the innovator's dilemma. Yeah? You know what you need to do. You know you need to innovate, but you can't actually get that innovation off the ground because you're too busy. You don't have the organizational resources and the organizational culture to move from exploit to explore. The most famous issue here is Kodak. Kodak had actually invented digital photography, but they couldn't exploit it. They couldn't actually use that. So, what you need then is both. Yeah, and this is what people have called ambidexterity. You're Greek, so you know what ambidextrous is. Usually one has to explain that. It just means that you can use both hands. Yeah. So on the one hand, a successful needs a plurality of contending institutional logics. Yeah. But at the same time, you know that each of these institutional logics has its strengths and weaknesses. Let me go back to this. A lot of firms come to us and say, we need an innovation culture, and we don't want to be hierarchical anymore. We want to be innovative, and we want to move from here to there. And you know, one thing I argue with them is that's really silly. You don't want to move from there to there. You want both. You want to get into a management regime that you can use both ambidextrously. And to make matters worse, there's more than two institutional logics. Social anthropology suggests that there's, bear with me, at least four. There's two, which is market-based or output-oriented, is the explore, and the process orientation is the exploit that we know, hierarchy. But evidence suggests there may be even two more. One that is inclusion-oriented. A lot of startups have that. A lot of startups have a very warm, welcoming, including sort of culture, which is neither output-oriented nor process-oriented. And then you have chance culture, which isn't a very nice place to be. But that's isolation. I'm sure if any one of you has worked in a large organization, there's always one department that's completely isolated and everyone's very fatalistic and says, well, there's nothing we can do anyway. Things just happen to us. We have no control. And that's up there. And all four of these have strengths and weaknesses. And what you need is not just ambidexterity, but multidexterity. I made that up. That probably doesn't make any sense. But you know what I mean. You need these different types of cultures. And that's what we call a messy organization. Now, my argument is that if you implement design thinking or similarly agile approaches, you have a chance of creating an organization that can deal with all of these and move between them, as strategically move between them as it is demanded. And I'll provide you a brief overview of some. So I looked at, for the book, about 4 or 5 dissertations, which went in depth, and they looked at the introduction of design thinking initiatives in large companies and organizations in the public and private sector. And I sort of said, well, basically, if you think of an organization or an institution or an institutional culture, this is just basic sociology. You know, this is Luhmann and Giddens. Yeah? Basically, an institution consists of reinforcing loop between 3 things. One is structure, so the organigram. The other one is ideas. So what are the legitimating values of that organization? And the legitimating values have to strengthen the structures. And then last, you don't need more than a structure and ideas, you also need practices. You also need people doing things to reproduce that organization. That's just basic sociology. But my argument would be that what you guys do has the potential of moving all three, and we have the evidence, and here it is. So on organizational structures, the evidence suggests that once you put that into a large organization, you put design thinking initiative into large organization, it carves out new institutional spaces within that organization. And those spaces are called mini-publics. Within those spaces, different rules apply. It's almost, it's almost like a agora, well, that's a market, but it's almost like a mini-polity, yeah? You have horizontal instead of vertical decision-making. So vertical decision-making is decision-making from the top on down, which is based on expertise, and the most expertise resides at the top, and the bottom implements. But horizontal means that people have similar expertise and have to coordinate themselves very much differently. All of you that work in collegiums or with people of equal status know that that's a very different way of organizing one another. And once you put in design teams, that's what happens. And basically these spaces have more autonomy, but at the same time, a different sense of accountability than you would have had in the larger structure. On the downside, and there was a downside in these empirical studies, was that design thinking practices, people always see design thinking practices as an antidote, I'll come to that in a minute, to hierarchical. People are very unhappy in hierarchies, at least they are in Germany. And they say, design thinking will get rid of hierarchies, we'll be happier, which isn't true, unfortunately, because all forms of organization exclude people or can exclude people. My academic mentor, a social anthropologist, been dead for a long time, she always said, people want to live in small communities. They've obviously never lived in small communities because life in small communities can be very dictatorial in a way, yeah, if you don't fit in. So the same can happen with those spaces. Top-level management buy-in. This is one thing that all management gurus say is so important. And yes, it was important, but it's only a necessary condition. Actually, what design thinking teams and organizations need is operational protection. That means on the day-to-day working, so when you go work in a large company, you've got to have someone who gives you that space, and protects you from day-to-day bullying. I don't really mean bullying. What I mean is from day-to-day distraction in your work. I've just come up from 2 years in a really large corporation doing this sort of thing. And from one day to the next, they can just get your money. So if your budget, and you can get put somewhere else. So someone needs to protect you. So what becomes more important is not the management of people, but the management of interfaces between different design teams. At the level of ideas, we have evidence that design thinking mobilizes social plurality within organizations. So on the one side, the design research, if they do it properly, brings in new ideas into the firm by talking to users about their needs. That gives new ideas, new frames with which you can craft clumsy solutions. But also, once you have these spaces that are freer, people in large organizations tend to be more freer with who they are. I'm not sure if that makes any sense. Let me try and explain. So you have an organization like Bosch, which is a big German engineering firm, which has 360,000 employees worldwide. That's pretty diverse. But the thing about that is, if you have a very hierarchical or a very process-oriented culture, people are not going to be free in who they are. They're going to try to conform to a persona. If you create space for them, they feel, oh, I can bring in my interest in music or my interest in art, and that already creates a much more interesting. The idea of T-shaped people. Yeah, when in these things they can become T-shaped and they can live out that what makes them special. And of course, that led to higher quality outputs. We do have evidence that a plurality of ideas leads to better outputs. The downside is there's a weird dynamic. Yeah. So once you have a team that then says, okay, we want to pursue user need. So user need sort of becomes the standard by which which is good, yeah, and you're designers, you know that's good, by which you assess your actions. But of course, before that, it was expertise. So we've got all these people that had a standing and status within an organization, engineers, lawyers, managers, whatever. And all of a sudden, in these design teams, that's not important anymore. And that causes considerable friction and conflict that needs to be managed. Yes, not everyone, I'm a social scientist, not everyone's really very good at the social science part in this, and that requires training. And yes, just like everything else, it needs operative protection. I'll give you an example. So I said to my boss, we did co-creation for the telecom. I said, I need to do 10 interviews. They go, yeah, 10 interviews is great. 2 days later, it's no time. You can only do 3. That's a small example, but that happens all the time. Good. So, well, you need ongoing training and ensure a wider diversity. Last but not least, practices. The problem with the design thinking as it has come from Stanford, because that's what we use the Stanford type design thinking, is that it's very American. That means it's really, really good on inclusion, yeah? Hey, we're all cool, this is California, and it's really good on output. Yeah? It's really good on, come on, do this. It's not really good on process. Yeah? Design thinking can be an antidote to, I've said that earlier, to hierarchies. That's a good thing, but as designers, you want to be very careful, because you want to be careful what you're being used for. Are you being used to break up a hierarchy, or are you being used for what you're actually trained for? That is a very double-edged sword. So, the problem with, I'm sure you've heard this dictum, take a beginner's mindset. That's a huge thing amongst the design thinking community, particularly in the US. The problem is with taking a beginner's mindset is that you screw up, because beginners aren't very good at stuff. That's just a fact of life. They're just not good at stuff. Yeah, and what you get is dilettantism. You get stuff that comes out of the D school sometimes, our students. You think, you know, with a 5-minute internet research, you could have found out that this had been solved 10 years ago and better. But of course, take a beginner's mindset and it leads to dilettantism. Also within teams, especially if these teams are equal, you get paralysis and a little bit of intolerance as well. So I take this as an example not from industry, but this is an example from the students. Our students do multidisciplinary teams in the second semester of a 1-year or 2-semester course. They do a 3-month project, an entire semester project, and they work on this design project as a team. And I was a coach in that process. Towards the end of that, you're spending at least a third of the time. They meet twice a week, yeah, at least a third of that time on team-related stuff, yeah. And it's almost like group therapy. But that's just the way it is. They work, they're equal, yeah, so there's no, hierarchies are really good at resolving conflict. They say, you're wrong, he's right, get back to work. It's not very nice, but it works. But if everyone's equal, you can get paralysis, and it just takes a long time to resolve, and firms don't really like that very much. And then, if you look at what people do in large companies, this was our sample size, the DT initiatives weren't really as diverse as they could be. There's, you know, what they thought was diverse is not really what people in the room would think is diverse. Okay, very important. If you're going to go do this in a large company, in a way, remember I said design thinking solves the problem, that's the innovation, and design thinking can change the organization. There is a trade-off here. Yeah? So if you're predominantly doing innovation, yeah, if you're in a design team in a large or not so large company that's doing innovation, you're not going to be you can't at the same time do organizational development. I suppose you can a little bit, yeah? And the other way around, if you're busy doing organizational development, training people to think agile and to take different team roles, you're not going to be developing the new iPhone. It's just not going to happen. So there's a trade-off. People tend to sort of not want to hear that, but there really is. Okay. Thank you very much for your patience. And here, is nothing. This is one of our projects. It's called Nothing. It's called, so here's 3 projects. I can talk about those. We built design thinking schools at these institutions. And, you know, I saw Roy's wonderful graphics and I thought, these suck so bad, but there you go, what can I say? What questions do you have? Yanis.
We have one. Let's bring the microphone, please.
Steve, this was a wonderful presentation, and thank you for activating us tonight. I would like to ask, if you had a big organization and you had to start from somewhere, would you start from the top management, or you would ask for a group to be isolated, trained, and then get into the organization, but having the protection of the key people?
Yeah, you know I'm a social scientist, so I'm going to evade that question like we social scientists always do. And I will give you the social scientist answer, which is, it depends. But it really does. So our experience is as follows. There are 2 studies which I'll be happy to send you from the HBI Design Thinking Research Team. The one that is called Parts with, well, it's actually 2. One is called Parts Without a Whole, where they looked at exactly that issue. So they looked at where in organizations the design teams were located. Are they strategic? Are they external? Are they peripheral? They had like a typology, and they evaluated that. I'll send you that. So basically, the upshot of that was the further away, the less impactful it is. If it's part of the management team, that really is traction. There's a new version coming out soon. I'll send you both when they're there. But our experience has been as follows. So it's not, so if you talk to business people and business professors and management professors, they will slavishly repeat the most important thing is top management buy-in. Yeah? Why? Because those are their clients. You know, they're all in management consultancy, and the management pays their bills. And the management, to a certain extent, I'm being cynical, but to a certain extent, a lot of management consultants, their business model is tell executives how important they are. Now, to me, top management, level management buy-in is a no-brainer. Of course, I mean, yeah, of course. Yeah, of course they have to be on board, particularly if it's a large thing. You can have small experiments under the radar. I'm a big fan of under the radar, by the way, yeah, in large organizations. But really, once you have a reform, you need top management buy-in. My argument is another one. My argument is that's not nearly enough. Yeah, so at SAP, Hasso Plattner said, you're going to have design thinking and you're going to like it. And people went, yeah, and didn't like it very much. And where I worked at T-Systems, top management loved co-creation and design thinking and always came to us and said, you guys are the future and all that. But the problem was that was top level and perhaps the SVP level, and then it just desiccated. But I have to deal with those people down there. And they weren't on board. And I can't phone up the CEO of a 40,000 person and say, Adele, I have a problem here. That doesn't work. So that's the necessary condition. But you've got to work down here. You've got to get these people on board. And that's really hard. That's really hard. Yeah? That's where that's what we talked earlier. That's the whole idea of ecosystem management, getting people buy-in, getting war for talent, getting more people, designers into there that can actually convince those people that really need to be on board that this is worthwhile doing. So yeah, sure, of course, it's a bit like saying, you know, the sky is blue. It is good. But down here, that's where the action is, and that's really hard. So, and what we do, just one more sentence, what we do, so at the HPI Academy, we have a management module, and that came out of that, what you just said. So we started teaching these people down there, and they were like, yeah, really cool, but their management didn't get it. So we've decided to have a management program where we say, look, guys, you don't have to do design thinking, but you have to understand what that means for leadership, because it does change things.
Any other questions?
At this point in the evening, when everyone raised the question, everyone will look at you and go, oh.
Yeah, don't worry.
I have one, so...
Might be... yeah.
It's fine. I'm on your side.
Good.
I presented yesterday, so I have some questions regarding the next step. What's after that? In our company, for example, we integrated the process where proof of concept is the next step of design thinking, where there is, of course, a process of creating things, you know, ideas and concepts and so on. And proof of concept is one of them solutions, because you have a great idea, you've been going through the whole process of design thinking, and then you get to the point where you have to actually put something, I'm not talking about the market, but just, you know, a prototype. Is that also part of what you're teaching? Somehow?
Yeah, it is. But so increasingly, I mean, we're evolving as well. It's called the evolution of design thinking. For me, that implementation part has to be part of that. So a lot of, I mean, we teach. So a lot of time we've done. You know, we do a bit of business entertainment as well. So we teach them to do paper prototypes and stuff like that. But increasingly, we're finding that's not gaining the traction. Yeah, and there's a big discussion on LinkedIn and about, oh, there's design thinking and then there's implementation. I think that's a weird debate, because for me, design thinking is about doing MVPs, then going out and testing, build, measure, learn. Also, I don't make such a big distinction between the different agile, so lean, agile. It's all one family. Yeah, so for me, when we go out and we talk to firms, is we're trying to find out what they need. And sometimes they need to be more creative, sometimes they need teamwork, and sometimes they really need to get this stuff on the ground. Yeah? And then we work with partners. But I mean, for me, that's one thing. So there's, it's really quite interesting. If you're not doing prototypes of innovation, what are you doing prototypes of? And that's a question that hasn't really been answered. So if we teach people these design thinkings, agile methods, without them actually then doing products and services, the question is, what are we teaching them? And I think what we're then teaching them is, okay, then it's organizational change, but that needs prototypes as well. So you're absolutely right.
Also, I just wanted to say that one of your slides was about Leonardo da Vinci, right?
Yes.
And to me, obviously, he's the most inspiring person.
Let me guess where you're from.
Italy, but only from the last 15 years. So
okay.
I spent half my life in France and the other half in Italy. But anyways, the thing is, Leonardo da Vinci, as you depicted it, is this one-man band, right? He's the guy who's able to do so many things at the same time. And you said maybe there's one every 500 years. I'm worried about that claim, because we are trying, I guess, each one of us here and all the people that are offline, let's say, or online, hearing us, are trying to do that job of integrating the design thinking into the process of creating stuff that are innovative at the right point. So I'm not that worried that we will find, new geniuses around for solving this.
Well, I think I agree. My point really is that we shouldn't rely on geniuses. Yeah. So I think this used to be called the genius hack. Yeah, so what we're doing is so when I've done a similar lecture to my first year students, and my first year students were business students, mostly male. And you could tell, and I said, well, you know, and these people are geniuses. And then you could see some of the students going, yeah, so am I. But my point is that we shouldn't really rely on Leonardo's coming along, that we can do that too with our non-Leonardo brain, but if we work in a team with the right sort of with the right sort of way of going about agility, if you will, we can produce that as well. That was my point.
Also, maybe in 500 years from now, some future kids from us, generations, will look at us and say, these guys were geniuses.
Maybe.
Because I don't think that Leonardo claimed that he was a genius running around the streets and doing his thing in France and Venice and whatever. You know what I mean? He was. He didn't have that view from outside.
Yes, this
right?
is true.
We realized after so many years and decades and centuries that this guy was actually a genius because he was doing so many things at the same time. But for him, it was like just having a normal day. Right?
Yeah. I mean, it's quite interesting that we designate people like Steve Jobs. And does anyone know the American comedian Bill Burr?
Yeah.
Yeah, have you ever seen the Nerd Jesus bit? It's hilarious. I'll send it to you later. When he really takes apart Steve Jobs. Sorry, I digress. Yeah, but yes, I agree. I completely agree. And I think sort of that's another thing that sort of goes hand in hand with when you change things in organizations and let people become who they are, or let people act who they really are. Then some people who actually thought, oh, you know, all I can do is this, actually find out, hey, I can do all this as well, if you only give them the space and you give them the encouragement and you give them the tools. I mean, I suppose that goes towards that way.
Anyways, thank you. This insight.
In the concept of geniuses, we all know that geniuses are outliers, and in how we give space to geniuses in team-based integrative thinking.
In team-based integrative thinking, geniuses are not very good. They're very difficult to deal with. And I wouldn't advise it. I think team-based integrative thinking is just for normal, clever, smart people, but not so, I won't say schizophrenic, that's wrong, but so multifaceted. Yeah. So if you get someone like that, they're very, I mean, I don't know whether you've coached teams with people like that in there. I have, and it's like, okay, what I usually do is, here, you play with something else, and let them deal with the challenge. I had this one guy, I called him, he was fantastic, but he wasn't very disruptive. He was just, I called him, he would stand in the team, sort of students, and he would stand there, listen, and then he'd go up to the board, and there was this debate going on, and post-its were being written, and he'd go and write this post-it, and it just, I called them post-its from Mars because they had nothing to do with it, but they were genius. They were like, everyone stopped and went, oh, thanks, Karel. This is cool. Yeah, but he really wasn't part of the team. Yeah, so just from a coaching perspective, I don't think they're really good for team-based integrative thinking, simply because they don't need it.
Exactly.
Yeah. So from a practical point, if you've got one in a team,
isolate
give him a sandbox, and because it'll just it's not good for the team.
Any other questions? Because I have one.
Go on then.
Very similar to the first one. In Greece, for example, we have many small teams addressing small to medium businesses. So how a small team can apply design thinking with a small to medium client, because we are mostly teams of 2 or 3 people working together and addressing a small to medium client.
Yeah. So I mean, that's a really, really interesting question. So, and I'm not sure I have an answer, to be perfectly honest. So usually, orthodoxy is that we have the best design thinking team is 5 to 8. Okay, so if you're a 2-person startup, that's a problem. because you're missing 5 people, or 4 or 5 people. So I would have thought, my feeling tells me that if you were asked to ask me and say, so the problem with 2 people in a team is it's just hard work, and you just don't have enough frames to bounce off. Perhaps one could then create, that would be a really cool design challenge for our students, yeah. Redesign the design thinking experience for a startup with 2 people. And I don't really know. I don't really know. That's an open question. I think my initial gut feeling would be, well, then you create an ecosystem. Yeah, so you see if you can get other people into a team and have an extended system, which of course is a bit difficult if you know, with IP,
because it's extended.
Because it's extended. But that, you know, that may be a way of doing it. That's a really good question. But I think the challenge here would be to how do you get the plurality, sort of the requisite, the critical mass, for lack of a better word, for a startup. And my gut feeling would be, well, create an ecosystem, but there may be other more innovative ways of doing it. It's a good question, and I don't have an answer. Sorry.
Any other questions? Yeah, we have time. You can.
Yeah, but everyone wants to go home. I can understand that. There's dinner.
Based on the schedule, we have time.
Okay.
We have people online that they are.
So, just to give you a hint, this might not be, you know, research-based, but I was wondering in respect to your question, when you have 2 people, a couple of people, you know, from personal experience, I believe that if those 2 people are opposites, are the 2 ecosystems that you have, Steve, presented, you know, the systematic guy and the blue skies guy, and they progress through the organizational enlargement together with branches, and then this could be a good start, because if you are 2 of the one side or 2 of the other, probably, you know, you create obstacles. But that's just, you know, something
Google,
that,
no?
Yeah.
Google. There's 2. Those were 2, wasn't it? Bryn, and there were 2 guys from Google, I think. I mean, let me give you this is completely unscientific, but I'm also a hobby musician. There's many really good duos, but the duos are always a very specific type of music. Yeah, so Simon and Garfunkel, for example, is different than Metallica, which is a much bigger band, yeah, or jazz. So I think that would be worth exploring, actually. So I think what you're going to get with a 2-person thing, it's either these are 2 exceptional people like Simon and Garfunkel. Most duos don't work. Most trios don't work in pop music. Yeah, The Police is one. Is there a contemporary trio? I don't know enough about contemporary music, but trios don't work. But from 4, you get a rock band. Yeah, 5 is sort of the typical. And so if you have a startup with 2 or 3, this is a hypothesis, guys. This is just a hypothesis, but I think either these guys are like Simon Garfunkel and they have this really cool idea which they pursue, yeah, and then they're going to have a very specific flavor to their innovation, or it doesn't work, yeah. But that could be also an interesting thing. So either you have an extended, or you coach them to be Simon and Garfunkel, for lack of a better, you know, to have a very specific style. I don't know. It's good, interesting question.
Thank you very much. Any other questions? If we don't have any other questions, we can call it a day, and thank you very much for being here. See our program in the website thessalonikiDesignWeek.gr for following, and thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Do you have any last words, someone? Okay, thank you.
Ευχαριστώ.
Oh.